of her case. You will remember on January 6, 2021, Donald Trump stood on stage at the Ellipse, a park just south of the White House, and encouraged thousands of his supporters to fight to overturn an election he falsely claimed had been stolen. Kamala Harris will stand on stage at that same park tomorrow night. And former President Donald Trump sought to head off the major speech Vice President Harris is planning to deliver. That's tonight, not tomorrow, but tonight, Tuesday night, by casting her as responsible for all of the nation's ills while also attempting to draw attention away from bigoted and racist remarks at his rally in New York. And Trump allies have shown anxiety that the backlash to the Madison Square Garden event and descriptions of him as a racist and a fascist may be breaking through to segments of voters in battleground states. Today, the former president sought to attack Kamala Harris with the very accusations he himself has been facing, telling a group of supporters and reporters at his Mar-a-Lago club in Florida that her message has been a message of hate and division. And as the presidential contest enters the final sprint, campaign aides and allies close to Vice President Kamala Harris are growing cautiously optimistic about her chances of victory, saying the race is shifting in her favor. Top Democratic strategists are increasingly hopeful that the campaign's attempt to cast Donald Trump as a fascist, paired with an expansive battleground state operation and strength among female voters still energized by the end of federal abortion rights, will carry VP Harris to a narrow triumph. Even some close to Trump worry that the push to label him a budding dictator who has praised Hitler could move small but potentially meaningful numbers of persuadable voters. And the comedian who let loose a series of racist jokes on Sunday at Madison Square Garden, some about Puerto Rico, at that rally that was supposed to be Donald Trump's closing argument. Apparently, those jokes had been workshopped the night before at a local New York comedy club. The comedian Tony Hinchcliffe called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage to warm up the New York City crowd, drawing immediate criticism from across the political spectrum and derailing what was supposed to be a night highlighting Trump in the final stretch of the campaign. And the criticism and the controversy over Hinchcliffe's jokes, which Trump himself has not disavowed when he addressed the rally later, are now at the forefront as the two presidential candidates vie for the support of Puerto Rican voters, especially those who remain undecided. Puerto Ricans living in the U.S. mainland are the nation's second largest group of Latino eligible voters after Mexican Americans. And with Election Day on the horizon, Elon Musk, a name you've heard a lot about recently, is leaning into violent and vulgar rhetoric. Musk, one of the world's richest men, posted a video to X on Sunday in which a gladiator with Donald Trump's face briefly sword fights with and kicks a warrior with Vice President Kamala Harris's face. A video whose creator appears to be aligned with neo-Nazism. This is the news of the day, and this is Areva Martin in real time, and I'm your host, Areva Martin. This is your one-stop destination for today's trending news, expert analysis, and my unfiltered opinions. In this hour, I'm joined by Isaac Wilson. He is a Democratic strategist and chair of the Democratic Party of Florence County, South Carolina. Also in this hour, joining me are Fatima Gilliam. She is the author of Race Rules, What Your Black Friend Won't Tell You. She's also an attorney in the city of New York. And in hour two, you know what we do. That's the hour where we go deeper, where we dig behind those headlines and bring you those stories that people are talking about. Well, given that we are literally 1 week and 1 day out from the most consequential election, presidential election, that is, of our lifetime, that is the topic of conversation pretty much everywhere you go. And how do I know that? I know that because I have been on a 7-state battleground tour. I'm at my last location, my last stop on that 7-state tour in the great city of Charlotte, North Carolina. And the conversation quickly in meetings today, at meals today, veered towards the election and the anxiety that so many people are feeling about this election. If you are reading the papers, if you're watching the cable news channels, if you're on social media, you have probably seen a flood of polls, polling released by different nonprofit groups, by different pollster organizations, some by the candidates themselves or surrogates of the candidates or individuals or groups aligned with the candidates. And quite frankly, the polls are all over the place. It's really hard to know who's up, who's down, which states they're up in, and what is likely to happen when all the dust settles from this election. Well, you don't have to guess any further. You don't have to guess anymore. You don't have to be anxious anymore because in hour two, we have an expert, a polling expert. She is the co founder of the 2040 Strategy Group, and she does polling for a living. She's been following all of the polls, polling of white women in suburbs, polling of black men under 25, polling of voters across this country, different demographics, and she will join me in hour two to help us make sense of all of these, what appears to be very, very conflicting polls. So make sure you stick around for hour two. But before I bring on my guests, here's what I've been thinking about in real time. So I want to thank, first of all, Angela Reddick, my host or colleague at KBLA. She held it down for me yesterday because I was in the great state of Pennsylvania, one of the most substantial battleground states because of its 19 electoral college votes. It has the largest number of electoral college votes of all of the swing states. And as I've been talking about for the last 2 or 3 weeks or so, you guys know I've been on the road, started on the 7-state battleground tour in Phoenix, Arizona, Tempe, Arizona, went on to Las Vegas, Nevada, then to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I was joined by my good friend Kim Whitley, actress and comedian Macy Gray, Grammy Award-winning singer, joined me to kick off the tour in Phoenix. Kim and I left Milwaukee. She went her own way. I journeyed on to Detroit, Michigan, and from Michigan to Atlanta, Georgia, and from Atlanta to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And today I touched down in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I will be for the next couple of days. So in addition to doing these just amazing, insightful, powerful voter engagement events in each of the battleground states, in events targeted at what some people like to call low propensity voters, I like to call them high opportunity voters. At events targeted to them, I've also made sure in each battleground state that I hit the streets, talked to voters. I did canvassing. I knocked doors, some with the Harris Walls campaign in some states. Other states, I knocked with a different nonprofit or 501c4 organizations and different groups that are also vested in this presidential election and that are out canvassing. Atlanta was amazing. Out on the streets, walking in what I felt like was the country miles of Atlanta, the suburbs of Atlanta. I had an opportunity to meet with some real grassroots organizer, Latasha Brown, who is the co-founder of Black Voters Matter, who's been doing that critical work in Georgia of literally registering hundreds of thousands of voters. She was working along with Stacey Abrams, and collectively, along with other groups working in Atlanta, they were able to elect 2 Democratic senators, and they have been influential in helping to make a ruby red state like Georgia a purple state. So Latasha Brown joined me in conversations, the conversation I had in Atlanta, Georgia, along with some other experts working in that state. Moved on to Philadelphia, in North Philly, knocking on doors in some of the hardest hit by the recession, hardest hit by this economy, neighborhoods in Philly. In some ways, as much as I love getting out talking to people, it was really heartbreaking to be in North Philly, to see the level of poverty, to see the level of drug addiction amongst people of color, to see the number of homeless people literally living on the streets. And Philadelphia gets cold. So just really heartbreaking. Had a chance to talk to a lot of young people who are disenchanted, quite frankly. Some said they weren't voting in this election at all. Some said it didn't matter who they voted for because their personal lives didn't change. I had a robust panel of 9 community leaders, activists, elected officials that joined me at this really creative workspace called the P4 Hub, again in North Philly. The state representative, Darisha Parker, who was responsible for bringing the dollars into that neighborhood to build this creative space where folks can incubate their businesses, where community events like the event I held can be held. She was on the panel. The commissioner for the county that Philadelphia sits in was there talking about how every individual can activate the vote in their own communities. President of the Philadelphia Urban League joined us, and then two really influential millennials. These were guys who are working every day with young people in Philadelphia, gave their perspective about what it's going to take. Philadelphia and the state of Pennsylvania are critical to the Harris-Walz campaign and to any win that we can expect to see next week. It goes through Pennsylvania, the Keystone State. I had a chance to attend a rally while there with the VP, the mayor of Pennsylvania, mayor of Philadelphia, African-American woman who was just elected a little over a year ago. Others who were working on the ground got a lot of insights in terms of what's happening with this election. Again, a lot of the information is contradictory, which is why I'm so glad Dr. Tabitha Bonilla will be with us in hour two, because I have a lot of questions about this conflicting information that I'm hearing from activists on the grounds, from pollsters, information that I'm reading myself about where we are in this race. Everybody's pretty much in agreement that it's a tight race, that no matter what the polls say, that the Democrats, as well as I'm sure Republicans, need to keep working, need to keep their foot on the gas. We can't let up. We don't want to make the mistake that was made in 2016 when we felt that there would be no way that this country would elect Donald Trump and that we could take a break in the last week. I'm glad that at the top of our ticket, VP Harris doesn't subscribe to that. She is at the Eclipse Park tonight making a closing argument, but she's not going to take the rest of the week off, even though they're calling this her closing argument. She's going to be back out in those battleground states until this election day comes next Tuesday. I know she's going to be back in Pennsylvania. I know she's going to be in Georgia. She's going to be in Michigan. She's going to be, again, hitting the battleground states because she understands that the race is close and that in order to be victorious, she has to keep doing the work. And she's asking all of us Democrats, all of us who believe in our democracy, all of us that want to save this democracy, she's asking us not to let our foot off the gas, to keep pushing, to keep pressing, to keep talking to our friends, our neighbors, our colleagues, to keep volunteering, making those phone calls into battleground states. And if you can, getting on a bus in your city, going into battleground states. There were buses of students from Columbia University this weekend in Pennsylvania during not just canvassing, but during a ballot curing in the state of Pennsylvania. If your ballot isn't perfectly, if it doesn't comply perfectly with the rules set up by the state, it can be kicked out. But they have a curing period. So some of these students were trained to become curing experts, to call voters to say, look, your ballot has not been counted because you need to cure some technicality. Again, really, really important, because we know voter suppression is a big issue. We're going to be covering that this week as well. So you can volunteer. If you cook some food and take it to one of the campaign offices. If you have good legs and you have good energy, go to a campaign office and volunteer to walk streets and canvass and knock on doors. If you can't walk, but you can make phone calls, go online and download some of the phone banking information. Or you can go to a local office. You can get involved in phone banking. There's so many ways that we all can get involved. Michelle Obama keeps telling us over and over again to do something. She's out on the campaign trail, gave a powerful speech about women's health just this weekend in Kalamazoo, Michigan. In Pennsylvania, I was campaigning with Mark Ruffalo, Don Cheadle, Leonardo DiCaprio had been in Philly. So many other celebrities, from Robert De Niro, Viola Davis is hitting the campaign trail. Chris Rock is going to be out. You name it. Folks that believe in our democracy are hitting the trail. Of course, we all saw Beyonce and Kelly Rowland in Atlanta. Look for more big concerts like that. Barack Obama has been crisscrossing this country. He was in Philly also yesterday with John Legend and Bruce Springsteen. You can see more of President Barack Obama. He will be hitting those streets until Tuesday of next week. So we got a week, y'all, to do this, and we can win this election if we all just do our part. When we come forward, more of today's breaking and trending news right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Stay with us.
You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580. Are you an entrepreneur looking to take your business to new heights? KBLA Talk 1580 is your partner in success. Every day, we celebrate and elevate Black-owned businesses across our community. Our KBLA SMB Marketplace currently features The Cookie Dip, Badass Bakes, Hair Concoction, Higher Education Accreditation Consulting, LACC Radiology Technology Department, and Malik Books. Your business deserves to be heard. Let KBLA Talk 1580 amplify your voice and connect you with our powerful community of listeners. Email smb@kbla1580.com today. That's smb@kbla1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your flag.
Did you know that 1 in 6 African-American men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer? This month, every time you purchase Gillette's family of products, they'll donate to support Movember. Whether you're looking for Gillette's Best Shave, a regimen to help prevent new shave irritation and bumps, or award-winning beard care products, every Gillette purchase can make a difference in the fight against prostate cancer. Visit pggoodeveryday.com/Movember for details. Exclusions apply.
Halloween's coming alive at Target. Jackie and Gordy, the Jack-o'-lanterns, here with last chance Halloween deals. Looks like Mom's got the old pumpkin bucket stocked with the best candy, starting at $5.99.
Lucky pumpkin bucket. Oh, there's Dad party planning with a same-day delivery order.
Yes, it's a BOGO 50% off pizza party with Target Circle. Plus, buy 3, save 40% on soda 12 packs with Target Circle.
Nice saves, Dad.
Make your Halloween come alive at Target. Need it last minute? Get same-day delivery with Target Circle 360. Restrictions apply.
Yeah. The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe to
We are back, and Isaac Wilson and Fatima Gilliam are joining me in this hour. And in hour 2, we're going to be talking to a pollster about these very, very confusing polls about where we are in this presidential election. But I got to start with you, Fatima. You are a New Yorker, or at least you live in New York today. And Sunday, Donald Trump's biggest dream was to play, quote unquote, play Madison Square Garden. He got his wish. He was there on Sunday, and what a debacle. We know how that rally has been playing out on the national, scene, on the national stage. But tell us what New Yorkers are thinking about that spectacle that was on full display on Sunday.
Unmute.
Sorry about that. I think what New Yorkers are thinking are similar to what a lot of people across the country are thinking, which is that was a very offensive yet revealing event that took place at Madison Square Garden. And to have somebody say things that were so offensive to the Puerto Rican community in New York City, where New York City has so many Puerto Ricans in this city, in the boroughs, the outer boroughs, it's extremely offensive. But I think it's also really important to note, because the news has been talking about what he said about Puerto Ricans, saying that it was a floating island of garbage, is just one of many things that happened at that event. For example, that comedian also talked about, he made a reference to watermelon and a Black person. He also, stroked a trope against Jews about Jews and money. And the other thing that happened, and this is, for people that want to say what happened was just the comedian, that it was a mistake booking him. Well, no, because there are many things that were happening. For example, twice at that event, they played Dixieland. And they played that when a Black politician was about to go on stage. So if that's not an ultimate sign of disrespect, that was before Florida Representative Byron Donalds went on the stage. But it wasn't the first time that the Trump campaign played Dixieland, that song by Elvis Presley that strokes Confederate reminders and speaking to the Confederacy. Trump also played that song when he had his weird campaign event where he played DJ for several hours. So this event is, reboot of the Nazi rally that took place at Madison Square Garden in 1941 or 1939, excuse me. But it also, I have to say, apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, because Fred Trump, Donald Trump's father, was arrested after a Klan rally in 1927 in a Ku Klux Klan rally in Queens, in New York. So what are people thinking? What they're thinking is, this is what the Republican Party stands for. And when people say this is not who we are, these aren't our values, it is exactly who the Republican Party is, and it is exactly their values on full display.
So well said, Fatima. One of the things that bothers me, Isaac, about this whole thing is, we saw Bad Bunny, J-Lo, Ricky Martin, and these other very prominent Puerto Rican celebrities come out afterwards, a swift backlash. But Donald Trump went to Puerto Rico when he was the president and threw paper towels at the heads of people who were suffering because of a hurricane. So did Bad Bunny really need to hear that joke to realize that Donald Trump is a racist that has no regard for Puerto Rican people? Did J-Lo really need to hear that comic make that joke or so-called joke before? And I just always get surprised when people say, oh my God, he's gone too far. Like, he's been going too far since he's been on the scene. So why now? Like people, better late than never. So I'm glad for Bad Bunny and J-Lo, but I'm just wondering, what will it take for people to realize this man is dangerous?
I think people know I think when it hits home for them, I think the paper towel was just, okay, throwing paper towels, you can kind of say he was just trying to get them to him. But I think they're embarrassed now. It's like, okay, I gotta say something now. And I think that's the only thing that is making them come out, the embarrassment. You're a big star. You're from this area. He degraded your people. He degraded your island. And so now you're coming out and you're saying that Donald Trump is a bad person. The other thing to mention is that Donald Trump does not have a ceiling. There is no floor. There is no ceiling for him. He will go to the depths of hell to say what he wants to say and to be to his base. So we got to understand that there's more that this man could say. And I was waiting for the time that he actually called her the N-word at some point in this campaign. And we still have 8 days to go. And it still may come from somebody. But Donald Trump has no ceiling. So there's more to come. But I'm glad they came out. Like you said, better late than never. But I think it's a little bit of shame and embarrassment.
Well, we are getting reports that speech, one, was vetted by the Trump team. So any notion that they didn't know what that comic is going to say apparently is just another lie that Donald Trump is telling. And also that there was the C word, that the same comic was going to call VP Harris the C word, and they did take that word out. We also know that there were references, thank you, Fatima, but talking about those other references to watermelon, to Jews and money. There were also references to a pimp, suggesting that Kamala Harris was some kind of prostitute or something. I mean, the references were just horrific. And this was supposed to be his closing argument or beginning of his closing argument. And one thing that's really bothering me about this story, I did an interview today, and a reporter asked me, well, what do you make about both sides talking about love and unity? I said, well, wait a minute. When it was Donald Trump talking about love and unity? She says, well, he was at Mar-a-Lago today saying that rally on Sunday was a love fest and there was so much love. I said, okay, that's gaslighting. Don't tell me there's so much love after you've, hurled all of these racist, uh, you know, comments, and you've made this about so much hate and vitriol. You don't then get to gaslight us and tell us that this was a love fest. But the media continues, Fatima, to try to make these false equivalencies between Harris and Trump. Like, well, they're both now talking about love. Areva, what do you think about it? I'm like, I think this is insane. The man, don't talk to me about it. It's like the kind of psychological warfare that domestic violence, domestic abusers engage in. I've just knocked you across the floor, broke every bone in your jaw, blacked your eye, fractured your hip, and I come in the room with some roses and say, baby, I love you. No, you don't love me. You just abused me. And that's what Donald Trump has done. And this reporter's like, well, they're both talking about love.
Well, I would say love for white supremacy, love for marginalizing people, love for offending people, love for fascism, and hate for democracy, equality, and giving people a fair shot at opportunity in this country. I mean, it is very disgusting the way that they are engaging in this false dichotomy. And the other thing is, so maybe they didn't use the C word, but they're engaging in other tropes, right? Because the Trump campaign is repeatedly trying to position Kamala Harris as if she's unqualified, as if she's unintelligent, as if there's something derelict about her. And that is just playing into the typical Black people being unqualified, when if there's anyone who is a clear sign of unqualified and had to fail up as a white person, that is Donald Trump. And
well, that is right out Fatima and call her low IQ. He calls her stupid. I mean, he's not like holding any punches in terms of his insults. When we go forward, I want to talk about, are they breaking through, meaning are Democrats breaking through by calling Donald Trump out for what he is? Because some folks are saying, what happened to the joy in the campaign? And they want her being Kamala Harris to get back to her message. I want to get your take on that and more of today's breaking and trending news when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580.
Right time. More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 things you should know from BIN News. The Wayans brothers are reuniting for the first time in 18 years for a Scary Movie reboot. Marlon, Sean, and Keenan are writing the script for the new film. It'll mark the 6th movie in the franchise. Atlanta police have a suspect in custody after an armed individual barricaded themselves in a high-rise hotel. Officers responded to reports of a person with a gun at the Four Seasons Hotel in Midtown, where shots were fired upon arrival. It's unclear if there were any injuries. Jury selection is continuing in Manhattan for Daniel Penny's trial. The 25-year-old Marine veteran is charged in last year's subway chokehold death of Jordan Neely because the mentally ill Black man allegedly was verbally threatening other riders. And Mike Tyson has invested in plant-based chain Mr. Charlie's TMS to expand its U.S. and global presence. The brand emphasizes healthy food and second-chance jobs, aligning with Tyson's values. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Over in Irvine, heavy traffic continues over 30 minutes on the 5 North between Sand Canyon Avenue and Harbor Boulevard. The 91 East through Anaheim between Highway 57 and Gibson Canyon Road remains with a 55-minute traffic jam. 4 vehicles involved in an accident downtown remain on the right shoulder of the 10 East before Hoover Street, with over 35 minutes of a backup running heavy from the 405. Then in Diamond Bar, a big rig and car accident are on the right shoulder, causing stop traffic on the 60 East at Diamond Bar Boulevard.
September 15th to 21st is Asthma Peak Week, with the highest concentration of asthma flare-ups and hospitalizations. To become a more active participant in your care, visit luma-edu.com. This message is brought to you by Amgen and AstraZeneca.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Blindster is a family-run business that began in 2010, and we've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters and received over 100,000 five-star reviews. Don't hire an expensive pro. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Doug Williams, the first Black quarterback to play in the Super Bowl, has been chosen to receive the 2024 Trailblazer Award by the American Football Coaches Association. Williams will be presented with the award during the AFCA National Convention in January in Charlotte, North Carolina. The convention is scheduled for January 12th to the 14th. In Super Bowl 20 in 1988 in San Diego, Williams threw 4 touchdown passes to lead the Washington Redskins to a 42-10 win over Denver. Williams was also named the Super Bowl MVP. The attendance numbers are in from the top HBCU football games over the weekend. The number one attraction was the Magic City Classic in Birmingham, Alabama. A crowd of 69,125 showed up for the Alabama A&M game. Alabama State won it 27-19. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, y'all, come on. Here come the drums.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580, where climate is king.
Have you heard of the 50-30-20 rule? This can help you spend and save your money wisely. So how does it work? Distribute your dollars into 3 buckets. 50% towards needs, 30% towards your wants, and 20% goes to savings. Use this tool to help your journey to financial success. Sponsored by JP Morgan Chase & Company.
That morning chill means truck season.
5 more minutes.
No snoozing. Do it all in a Chevy Colorado or Silverado, including the class-leading range of the Silverado EV.
Talking to me?
Work, play, hauling, off-roading, a Chevy truck can take it all.
Okay, I'm up.
It's Chevy Truck Season. Get 0% financing on all 2024 Silverado 1500 pickups when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
0% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $27.78 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 9.3%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 10/31/24.
This is Congresswoman Maxine Waters. You can call me Auntie Maxine. I'm running for re-election to Congress, and Vice President Kamala Harris is running for President of the United States. We both need your support and your vote. Maxine Waters for re-election to the 43rd Congressional District, and Vice President Kamala Harris for President of the United States. What a team. More affordable housing, support for health care for everyone, more capital for small businesses, more full disability for deserving veterans, lower taxes for the average taxpayer, making the big billion-dollar corporations pay their fair share, a criminal justice system that is respectful and fair for everyone, not a system that locks up the little people while too many of the rich and powerful commit crime and don't get convicted. Fairness and justice for all. Yeah, we can do this. This is Congresswoman Maxine Waters speaking truth to power. This is Congresswoman Maxine Waters, and I approve this message.
We're back, and Isaac Wilson and Fatima Gilliam are joining me in this hour. And in hour 2, we're going to be talking to an expert pollster about all of these confusing polls that are out there that have a lot of Democrats who are already tend to be pretty nervous people. I think have lots of Democrats even more on edge. Want to talk about tonight, Isaac, the VP is making what some are calling, or she's calling, her team is calling, a closing argument. She went to Eclipse. This is a park near the Capitol. This is the park where Donald Trump urged his MAGA voters to storm the U.S. Capitol January 6, 2020, because he refused to accept the reality that he had lost that election. Fitting place for Kamala Harris to be to draw a stark contrast in their two candidacies. What do you expect to hear tonight in that speech from VP Harris, and how significant is it that she is at that location on this night?
I think you said it best, Areva. It will draw a stark contrast to between her and Donald Trump. You have a president who is competent, a president who cares about the American people, and who wants to move this country forward and stop all the riffraff and the separation. And then you have a president like a former president like Donald Trump, who is just divisive and wants to just hype up his base. And he doesn't care how he hypes it up. He just wants to be a TV star, and that's all he knows how to be. And so he's using the presidency to be popular and act like he's still on The Apprentice. But I think what she's going to say tonight is what she's always been saying. I am for the American people. I don't care about you being a Republican. I don't care about you being a Democrat. I don't care where you live. I don't care who your parents are. I will be a president for all people. And she has a plan that outlines that. She is the only one in this race that has stated their plan for the American people. And so she will continue to do that. And she'll lay out more groundwork and when it comes to Black men, giving them their platform again and saying, hey, I hear you, I see you. And I think for Black men, we have to understand, and for the masses, not even just Black men, this woman has only had since August. She heard your concerns in 3 months and went and made a plan. You got to give her a break. She didn't have the whole year. She became the nominee in August. So you had to give her time to hear your concerns on the road around the country. Then she came back with a plan. If that's not being a leader and not being someone who's listening to you, then I don't know what, because Donald Trump's been out on the campaign trail for damn near 2 years, 4 years, and we still ain't heard a damn plan yet. So give her a break and hear what she has to say. And let's go out and let the first Black Asian woman to the White House.
I'm so glad you said that. And I've had to remind people of that. I've been on this Battleground State tour, Isaac, and in so many places, a lot of people got a lot of complaints. I'm like, people, $1 billion in 90 days. If the woman didn't do anything else, who do you know that's raised $1 billion? The answer is no one.
Right.
Because no one's done it. Black, white, red, green, purple, no one, woman or man, hasn't been done. And put together a team, had to cobble together a team that was left over from the old person, and then bring your own team in, make that team match. Okay, those of us in blended families, you know how hard that is. You can't even get your stepchild to sit down with the stepmother. So now you got a bunch of professionals, all with big egos, right? Trying to run stuff, used to running stuff, got to bring all those people together. I mean, it's just so much that goes into a campaign. If you ever been involved in a campaign, they're messy by definition.
Oh, definitely.
They're even messier because basically you're taking a bunch of people and you throw them together for a year that haven't worked together ever. And now you're throwing a bunch of people together that haven't worked together. And now you say you got 90 days to do something that's impossible, even if you have 4 or 5 years. So we got to give each other grace. And just say that her sheer might, her sheer determination, the woman is working so hard, 3 states in 1 day. I mean, she is working harder than anyone can imagine. And as you said, putting together substantive policy plans, not perfect. We're not voting for perfection. We're voting for the person that offers us a pathway. And I tell you, I was in North Philly yesterday. Hard, tough. I mean, poverty, just heartbreaking poverty. And I know poverty because I grew up in a housing project. So I know what poverty looks like. And it just broke my heart. And I just had to say to people, I'm just going to listen because I don't have anything to say to you about your condition other than it's horrible. And I agree with you. And I can't promise you that voting for Kamala Harris is like a magic wand is going to come through here and wave away all of these chronic issues, because many of them weren't created by the office of the presidents, and they won't be solved by the office of the president. The president doesn't have that kind of power. But I could say to them, I know this woman, I've known her since college, and I know that she is going to work harder than anyone ever to try to help you in this community. And she worked for someone, i.e. Joe Biden, who did the same. Those ARPA dollars, those dollars that did get into our community, that's because of the work that they did. Those child tax credit dollars that did get into our community. So we just have to remind people about this process because, you know, people who are hurting, and we are not here to deny their pain or to suggest that it's not real. But we also have a sense of reality about what voting does do for you and what voting won't do for you, no matter who is the candidate. Go ahead, you want to jump in.
The other thing to remember is that she can only do so much with executive order. That's why we need you to talk about local elections, getting your senators picked. Democratic senators, Democratic U.S. representatives. She needs those people. And if those people aren't doing what they need to do in North Philly, you need to fire them. Whether they're Democrat or whether they're Republican, fire them and get someone in with Kamala that really wants to change your community. And so we have to say that message as well.
Can I add something?
Jump in.
Yeah, talking about having a plan, right? So Donald Trump has run for president 3 times now and was president. Do you remember how many times we had infrastructure week and then no plan was announced? He still doesn't have a plan for healthcare when he was the president. And so we're talking about somebody who is just not serious, somebody who it is beyond his depth. What he does know is trying to grift. What he does know is trying to change the tax code for the benefit of himself. But what is difficult for when you go out there and you stump for somebody like Kamala Harris or any politician is that people don't understand how the political process works, right? So they think, oh, Donald Trump was the person who gave me stimulus checks. No, his name just happened to be on it because he was the president, but he was opposed to many of the things that infuse capital into people's bank accounts and pockets, right? That there's a process that goes through Congress. And when people realize economic benefits, like when they say, well, I was doing better under Trump before the pandemic, well, that was the tailwind of Obama's policies that take many years to come to fruition, and then you experience them. And what people are experiencing now economically are the terrible policies of Donald Trump, right? When he put sanctions and tariffs and tried to do whatever that crazy stuff was he did with agriculture and China, right? You're starting to feel that now, right? You're starting to feel the squeeze on the economy from the pandemic now. And so people don't understand that cycle. But what it is important to stress upon people time and time again, whether or not they fully agree with what Kamala stands for, what she, her policy positions. One person is for democracy and the other person isn't. One person understands hard work and the other person doesn't. One person has many, many plans to address multiple facets of our economy and society and economic development and education and healthcare. And the other guy is just coasting, and talking about white supremacy, grievance, and how somehow life dealt him a raw deal when he was born with a diamond-studded spoon in his mouth that somehow, with his poor ability to manage businesses, chipped off every little diamond while he filed for bankruptcy and got bailed out time and time again. So I understand the difficulty in trying to propose what Kamala stands for, but it is important for people to recognize and understand, yes, we're talking about somebody who scrabbled together a plan in a short period of time, and that plan doesn't look terrible under the circumstances. And she stands for a lot more than what the other fellow, who's a fool, stands for.
Yeah, no, well said, Fatima. And one of the things I've heard on my journey through these states, I was with a panelist on one of the tapings that we did, and he rattled off all the Black people that head up federal agencies. I mean, the list was like, agriculture, or even if they weren't Black, but people who were in charge of these departments and what they had done, like the $1 billion settlement to farmers. Regan at, the environmental department, Marsha Fudd at HUD. It just went through this list of like, let's compare that list to the people who were running these agencies under Donald Trump. Not to mention that Donald Trump wants to do away with the agencies, that Elon Musk would become the czar over federal agencies. And we know he's been sued time and time again by his own employees because of poor treatment. And this is the guy that Donald Trump, and I even had someone say to me, I was knocking doors in Detroit, that they were so happy that Robert F. Kennedy had joined the Trump campaign and was going to be over health. And I said, ma'am, I just got to tell you, I said, I got to get real personal with you. I am a parent of a child with autism. And Robert F. Kennedy has been one of the most dangerous people to us who are raising children and individuals on the autism spectrum because of his lack of scientific knowledge and the spreading of vicious, harmful conspiracy theories around autism. This is a man you wouldn't want anywhere near our Health and Human Services Agency. I said, please, if you don't believe me on anything else, trust me on this. Robert F. Kennedy is a lawyer on most days, and on some days, probably not even a good lawyer, but he is not a scientist. He's not a doctor. He's not a policy expert on healthcare. He should not be over anything related to our health. And so also it's important to remind people, we're not just electing a person, we are electing an administration. And we have an opportunity to have an administration with people, with expertise and credentials and knowledge and lived experiences and people that look like this country and not some of the quacks, literal quacks that Donald Trump had under his administration. So there's so much on the line in this election. When we come forward, I want to talk about those people who say Kamala Harris is going too negative and they want her to get back to a message of joy. And is there some misogyny wrapped up in that? I'm going to be asking Fatima and Isaac that when we come forward. Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, LA, it's time to step up and be a climate change hero. Go Metro and help us shape a better future for all Angelinos. From enhancing our diverse communities to preserving our planet, Metro is dedicated to making a positive impact with every ride. Start your journey at metro.net.
From the first day of kindergarten through the day they graduate high school, in California, 38% of students attend a public school that fails to meet minimum health standards. That's why we need Prop 2. Voting yes on Prop 2 will fund urgent repairs at local schools, protect kids from toxic mold, asbestos, and lead, ensure clean drinking water, and repair leaky ceilings and storm damage. Yes on Prop 2. To fix what's actually broken. All funds go to local schools without raising taxes. You heard that right. So join the California NAACP, nurses and teachers, and vote yes on 2. Because all our kids deserve a safe place to learn. Ad paid for by Yes on Prop 2, sponsored by Nonprofit Education, Labor and Business Associations. Ad committee's top funders, California Building Industry Association, California Teachers Association, Coalition for Adequate School Housing.
Politics has become so messy lately, it's hard to find a reason to be hopeful. Hi, my name is Shakira. I'd like to tell you why Adam Schiff gives me hope. My parents raised me to take my right to vote seriously, so I try to stay on top of what's going on. I saw Adam Schiff lead the impeachment and insurrection hearings. He seemed like someone I could believe in. Then I actually met him at the MLK parade in South Central LA this year. Adam listened. He cared. I got to see who he is. He understands the struggle we have with the cost of living, all the parents working extra shifts and taking second jobs to get by. He gets a threat to our democracy and our freedoms. Adam Schiff knows how tough things really are for a lot of us, and I believe he's going to do something about it. It gives me hope, but hope isn't enough. We need to vote for Adam Schiff for Senate.
I'm Adam Schiff, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Schiff for Senate.
An official message from Medicare.
Couple more minutes, and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year, I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you got to make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money.
Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and
We are back. All right, Isaac. I've been getting a couple of text messages. I don't want to make it bigger than what it is, but I have had a couple of friends reach out to me saying, why is Kamala going so negative? Why is she accepting the bait from Donald Trump? Her campaign was about joy. It was about optimism. And now she's, focused on, calling this woman, according to her, calling him names and being drawn into his negative campaigning. What do you say to that?
It's funny you bring this up. I just left the Democratic Party meeting for us, and that's what someone said in the meeting, that she was going there. And I'm like, I am happy that someone is finally playing their game. She's not being nasty. She's responding to him, and then she's going on about her business, standing up. You're not just going to talk about me that way. And she is still spreading joy. She said, I can be tough when I need to be tough, but I can also at the same time care about the American people. Donald Trump is just being tough. He's just being nasty. He doesn't care about the American people because he doesn't have a plan to, and he doesn't insist on doing it. He wants to be like his two brothers over there. He wants to be like Kim Jong-un, and he wants to be like Putin. But this is America. We don't have dictators. She is standing up to a big bully, and you should always stand up to big bullies. but you should also still be within yourself and care about people. So I like what she's doing. I don't think she's doing anything wrong. Keep doing it, fighting good fight, and we'll see her victorious on Tuesday.
Quick question, Isaac. What did the leadership or others in that meeting, since you were in a Democratic meeting for South Carolina, what did they say when this woman raised that concern?
Some of them looked at her like, what are you talking about? Like, she's not being nasty. What are you talking about? And she's just saying, calling to the names. Whenever he says something, you're going back. You always got to remark. Every time he says something, you got to reply or whatever. And some people just looking at her like, lady, shut up. Like, please. But she got on board after a while.
Well, this was my complaint with the Fatima. And I told this woman who sent me this text, I said, wait a minute, this is just a hypocritical standard. Some people said in the beginning, she laughed too much. She wasn't tough enough. I didn't know, if she would be able to handle world leaders because, I didn't know if she could stand up to a Putin or to, these other world leaders. And I said, calling someone out for what they are doing, the conduct they are engaged in, I said, there's nothing negative about that. I said, she hasn't stopped smiling. She hasn't stopped talking about, a better future, a pathway forward, lifting people up out of whatever conditions they're in, creating opportunities for people. I said, two things can be true at the same time. Someone can speak truth to power about the conduct of a candidate. I said, that's what you do when you run for office. You point out the flaws in the candidate that you're running against. And in this case, this man has a plethora of character flaws that need to be called out. And then you point out their record. He is a convicted felon. Is she not supposed to call that out? I said, I think this is a double standard that's being applied to her, and at some point, the media doesn't like anything that she does. If she calls him out on his record, then she's not being positive. If she talks about, her plan, and if she smiles and dances and laughs, she's being too playful. So I said, I think you should check your own biases, because perhaps you are judging her by a standard that is different than you would use to judge a man, particularly a white man.
I fully agree. I mean, at the end of the day, when people make those kinds of statements, what they're saying is they support the one-way standard, right? And that they don't want accountability. And, when you are making the case for yourself to the American people, you can't come in just talking about roses all day long. You have to point out the flaws in the other person. And that is exactly what she's doing, which is to drive accountability, right? And part of it is coming from a position, I guess, as women, we're just supposed to take it as people lob crap at us all day long. As Black people, we're just supposed to lay down, let the tire tracks just run all over our backs and thank them for doing that for us. I mean, as Zora Neale Hurston, the great author, once said, if you're silent about your pain, they will kill you and say that you enjoyed it. And that is what they're saying that Kamala should do. That's what they're saying that the Democratic Party should do. And I also have to say, because I get very irritated with, mainstream media for continually not only just propping up Donald Trump, but not holding him accountable. So now here we are, end of October, a couple of days into the election, 2024, and they are finally attaching the fascist word to him. It has taken them that long to call him out on who he is, what he stands for. So you've got the media not holding him accountable while point out the bottomless pit posed by a second Donald Trump presidency. It is a double standard. It's sexist. It's racist. And it's not how you run a campaign. And frankly, that works at the polls. And so she's also playing into a logical strategy, because at this point, she's playing to win, and it is too close for her to sit there and just, throw out rose petals all day long, when what the fool needs is daggers at his back to point out, not actual daggers in terms of harming him, but theoretical daggers to take down what he stands for and his failed policy or lack thereof of having policies.
No, she has to do that, and her surrogates have to do it. Michelle Obama has to do it, Barack Obama, and all the national surrogates and the local surrogates and all of us, because if we relied on the mainstream media, literally on Monday morning, I was up at 5 a.m. to see how they were going to write about that debacle at Madison Square Garden. And literally it was like, oh, there was a rally at Madison Square Garden. This comedian said blah, blah, blah. These other people said blah, blah, blah. Dr. Phil McGraw was there and he said blah, blah, blah. Oh, and then what's going on in, rest of the world today. It was so not the kind of headlines that it needed to be. I mean, it was not until you started to see the Bad Bunnies and these other big, celebrities come out that the headlines, started to change somewhat in the tone. But if we don't call this out, we can't depend, Isaac, on other people to do so because they've proven that they won't do it. It took John Kelly to come out, former chief of staff, to say, I was there with the guy longer than probably anyone. And when I tell you what he said, trust me, he said it. When I tell you he is a fascist, trust me. When I tell you he wants to be a dictator, trust me. And that seemingly gave license for a lot of media outlets to start using that word, even though there was such clear evidence of it even before John Kelly came out with, his very, very honest assessment.
It's beyond me. The bar is so low for Donald Trump and it's so very high for Kamala Harris. And you talk about going back, you're talking about playful. Donald Trump played a 30-minute weird montage of music and dance on the stage. And you're talking about 30 minutes of weird songs. And then we want to talk about somebody being playful. And to Dr. Phil made a comment about DEI. Do he not know that DEI person got him famous? He wouldn't be Dr. Phil of today without that DEI person of Oprah Winfrey. You wouldn't be nobody, sir.
That was, I mean, you guys know I started my daytime talk career working with Dr. Phil, and the text messages back and forth, the posts on social media from folks that work with him were just, I don't know if people were shocked that he said it. They were shocked that he was so public about it because he doesn't really, speak out a lot in the public. There seems to be this license that Donald Trump has given pretty much every white man to just speak their minds and to say things, ridiculous things like this on hard work, this whole meritocracy theory that we know is complete brainwashing, gaslighting of American people, that somehow white people who built this country did it because they work harder than others. And one comment was made by one of the speakers that only Americans should be in America, as if this is not a country of immigrants. Just went on and on. It was just horrific. And let's hope that closing argument is the argument that closes the chapter on Donald Trump for good. Thank you, Donald Trump, for that closing argument. And American people, let's send him away. Let's make this his closing chapter because clearly he wants to close the chapter on us. So let's close it on him. We are out of time. Thank you so much, Isaac. Thank you so much, Fatima. Stick around. We're going to be talking about these conflicting polls that have Democrats really clutching their pearls. Stay with us. KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.